This is Football Night in America, served by Applebee's.
Sunday, number 7 in perspective with Rodney Harrison, Mike Florio, Tony Dungy. I'm Mike Tirico. Well, we continue to see surprising stuff happen in the NFL. Seattle and Kansas City have already lost 2 home games. We're not even halfway through the season. We've seen so many teams play different quarterbacks. 60-yard field goals have become kind of standard. Saw Brett Maher on Sunday night hit 63-yarder before halftime. But one of the stick-out things was Aaron Rodgers. Let's start with Rodgers, what he was able to do for Green Bay against Oakland on Sunday.
Yeah, I actually picked Oakland to win that game because the Monday night game before, short week, this receiver's not playing. This guy didn't practice. We don't know who's going to play. And we're seeing these receivers in the game that we can't even identify. And he is just putting balls on the money, making them all look like they're 10-year vets and they've been in the system. He was fantastic.
He was. I was really impressed with that. The fact that you don't know, you get a limited amount of time to practice with these guys, so timing could be off. He trusted all his guys. I said it before, Aaron Jones is a perfect fit in this offense. Anytime you can get production from Jimmy Graham, I think that's huge, Mike.
And they've been banking wins during this period of time where the offense wasn't firing on all cylinders, and now it is. After finishing this stretch of 5 home games in 6 games overall, the Packers, unbelievable what they've done. And Aaron Rodgers forcing his way into that MVP discussion. I know it changes every week, but after today and after what he's done with that team when he doesn't have help around him, he's got to be in the mix.
And I'm really happy for Aaron Rodgers because we've seen over the years Aaron always pressing and trying to do everything by himself. Now he has a really good defense that he can rely on. Now he has some young players. And sometimes it's not all bad when you get your number 1 receiver. Go ahead, Coach.
Yeah, no, I was going to say, that to me was a real key. Those first 2 or 3 weeks when they weren't hitting on all cylinders, they weren't losing those games. They were off a little bit, but the defense was playing so well, they're winning until they got going. And now I agree with you. He's relaxed. Hey, I can take some chances because I know how good my defense is.
And remember even last year when he was blowing up and yelling at some of those young wide receivers? You don't see that this year. He seems like he's a lot more at peace.
Well, I'm thinking back to what was going on last year, really the last couple of years. It felt like so many of the plays were take the play call, and then Aaron was going to dance around and try to create something. And in some cases, it put him in harm's way. Whatever the blend was, remember all the conversation in the offseason, even a month ago, about Matt LaFleur's offense and could it be a blend?
Audible.
All that
don't
conversation.
hear about that anymore.
You haven't heard one bit of that, and you're also not seeing Rodgers get hit. And after every press conference, or at every press conference, he's mentioning he's not getting hit. He's been sacked 7 times the last 6 games. Think about last year. There were 8 games where he was sacked 4 times or more. So he's staying upright. He's not taking a beating. And he is as accurate as any. The places he's putting these balls is nuts.
And they're not able to tee off on him because there's so much running game now, and then it's run, and it's play action, and he's getting rid of the ball on time. It just really looks beautiful right now.
Yeah, the creativity on offense is just off the charts. You know, you look from one game to the next, he's like, wow, I didn't even see that play the week before. So Matt LaFleur is doing a great job.
3 games in a row without Devontae Adams either.
Right.
Yes.
And they're going to get him back at some point, and that offense is only going to get better.
The Green Bay-Kansas City is our Sunday night game. There's no Patrick Mahomes, obviously, after his injury. What's the deal with Mahomes, Mike? What's the update there?
Yeah, Mahomes is, the 3 to 6 window. That's what has been put out there as the range. The question becomes, where in that range will he fall? And people are trying to guess 3 weeks, 2 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks. They won't know until they see how the knee handles the rehab process, what the MRIs look like. But they're going to stick with Matt Moore. They're going to bring up Kyle Shermer from the practice squad. Chad Henne's going to come back from injured reserve, and they're going to stick with the guys who know the offense.
And that's what you have to do. You really do.
And, Tony, I thought you said something interesting about Kansas City, that you're Andy Reid, you're in this situation, here comes Green Bay. Rodgers is the 3rd quarterback ever to have 400 yards passing in a game or more, 5 touchdown passes, 1 rush. So they're all going perfectly. But if you're Andy Reid and you get this situation, you don't mind having a backup quarterback and preparing your team this week?
You love it. Everybody's counting you out before the game is even played. You're going to say that on Wednesday in that locker room, in that team meeting. Hey, nobody thinks we can do it, but here's what we're going to do, and here's how we're going to do it. And he'll have those guys ready to go, and Andy will be creative. He'll have some things dialed up.
Coach, all he has to say is, guys, just look around. Just look around. I mean, they have so much talent. You just look around. I mean, they have a lot of weapons, so it's not like they can't go out there and compete.
There's Kelsey, there's Tyreek Hill.
Yeah, you look around,
Hardman.
Nicole Hardman, all these guys.
Yeah, exactly. So in locker rooms, when you've had that situation where it's one of those rally the troops, us against the world, do you feel that when the coach comes to set the tone on Wednesday to start the week?
Listen, the coach really doesn't have to set the tone. It was the players that really set the tone. When we lost Tom Brady and Matt Castle came in, we said, look, guys, we just have to make sure that we're more fundamentally sound, do things right, and don't try to do more. Just do your job better.
Let's keep this going, too, because that was my topic for later in the discussion.
Sorry, keep going.
But that's fine. Think about the defense, right? The defense stepped up. We've been waiting for that defense to do something, and they've got some expensive guys, some big-name guys on that side of the ball. They've been getting gashed in the running game. But the moment that Patrick Mahomes went out, what happened? First play from scrimmage, strip sack, touchdown, and that defense asserted itself the rest of the game.
And that's the key. When you play against the Packers defense, you can't turn the ball over. You can't get strip sacked. If it's not there, don't try to do anything unbelievable. Just throw the ball out of bounds and punt the ball.
And, Mike, as we have this conversation, the Monday night game yet to be played, but New England clearly is a notch above. Buffalo has the next best record. And all of a sudden you see Houston. We'll talk about these teams as we go through. But you forget about Kansas City, almost dismiss them for a little bit because you saw the MVP go down. In your mind, do you dismiss where Kansas City is at this moment, not having Mahomes for some period of time?
I think it's wait and see, and they've got two big tests right out of the gates with the Packers and then the Vikings after that. It softens with the Titans and the Chargers before they go into their bye week, but they just have to keep it going. And we saw the Saints do it, and they haven't stopped yet with Teddy Bridgewater.
Right.
Teddy Bridgewater maybe a little bit better than Matt Moore, who was out of football altogether in 2018. But I trust the Andy Reid offense, and they're going to trust the guys who know the offense. I mean, at first when we didn't know what Patrick Mahomes' status was, who knows what they were going to do? I was saying they should trade for Marcus Mariota if the Titans are done with him, because he would be great. Because he would be great in that offense.
He can't throw the ball.
Well, Matt Moore can't either.
Very funny, but this is the 50th anniversary of the Chiefs' Super Bowl win in Super Bowl IV. They were showing those highlights. Len Dawson got hurt early in the season, knee injury, missed almost all the season, came back late in the year, and led them through to the Super Bowl.
And, Coach, you know what? That's an unbelievable story, but it won't happen here.
Come on.
What?
Don't ruin a good story.
It's a great story. I acknowledge that, Mike.
Who's going to run away with this AFC? Who's going to, if they can just be competitive and say Patrick comes back in week 9, week 10, all they have to do is be in the race. And they start winning games at the end of the year, they're going to be okay.
And in their division, with Oakland losing that game to Green Bay, the Chargers finding ways that we've seen in the past Chargers teams to lose, and how they lost the game in Nashville was just incredible on Sunday. Denver obviously is now 2-5, so they're going to get to the playoffs in all likelihood and win their division, so they'll probably be in good shape. So your point might be dead on.
They need to be careful, though, too, because Patrick Mahomes is their guy for the next 15 years. You don't want to screw around and get him hurt. Hopefully they can win some games without him, and then they can give him a little more time if they want to. Ideally, you give him until after the bye week. He comes back for that stretch with the Raiders and the Patriots and then on through to week 17. But don't take chances with him. Don't take chances.
I'm not doubting if Andy Reid is a great coach or not. Okay, I played against him in the Super Bowl. I know he's a great coach, but now he gets an opportunity to prove how good he is. Because anybody, you take the MVP at quarterback, anybody can deal with that. But can you deal with a backup quarterback like Sean Payton?
What if he helped make the man?
They won a lot of games with Alex Smith. Okay, and playing a certain style. He's a starter, yeah. And he'll play that way with Matt Moore. Now, their defense has to come on. They've got to do what you said. Hey, we've got to step up just like they did in Denver. Say, you know what? Patrick's not there. We've got to play better.
And by the way, I like Matt Moore. I was a big Matt Moore fan when he played Miami. Can I go to the next question?
Yeah, well, I screwed up the order, so go right ahead.
No, it's okay. Right. On a scale of 1 to 10, Mike Florio, how worried are you about the Bears?
I'm very worried about the Bears. They had 2 weeks to get ready for this game. I would put it around an 8 right now. They had 2 weeks to get ready. The Saints didn't have Alvin Kamara, obviously didn't have Drew Brees, didn't have Jared Cook, and the Bears offense just can't do anything. You can't rely on that defense exclusively. You have to do something offensively, and today the Bears just didn't have it, and you would expect them, of all days, to have it today coming off of their bye week.
The first thing that came to my mind, coaches, was Peyton Manning and how great you've been around Peyton Manning. I've been around Tom Brady. How much confidence do you have in that quarterback?
Well, I'm going to answer your first question. Okay. How worried can I go to 11 or 12? I'm very worried about these guys. They ran the ball 5 times today. You can't win like that with Mitchell Trubisky. You can't win like that with Chase Daniel. they've got to be balanced. They traded away Jordan Howard. Jordan Howard was a good running back who gave them balance. They've got to find that balance back. This defense that we said was great, and we're talking about how awesome they were and were they like the 85 Bears. Well, when you're going 3 and out, and that defense isn't rested, they're getting worn down. So, yeah, I'm extremely worried about them right now.
That's 3 games, the Minnesota game, the game in London against the Raiders, and this game that Bears defense didn't look like they looked when we saw them the opening night against Green Bay. And there is general concern because Trubisky comes back, and it wasn't a spark to the offense, but you didn't see it before when he was hurt. So they look about the same that they've looked the entire month. And that's disappointing and probably now puts a lot of pressure on them given the strength of the NFC. So many teams in the NFC are good. In their division right now, they look like the 3rd best team because of Minnesota's play and Green Bay's play. So now there's got to be a little urgency to that concern.
I remember, let me just say this, Mike. I remember in 1998, we had the #1 ranked defense, and we had like the worst offense. And we used to play 80 to 90 plays a game. And we would come off and we would have so much anger and bitterness toward the offense, we wouldn't even talk to those dudes during practice. Like, we would try to hit them hard and play extra physical with them. My whole point is you don't want that dissension in the locker room. So it's very important that Matt Nagy gets that offense up to par because that defense is a great defense. But like Coach said, when they're on the field every 3 plays, they get tired.
And they've got to run the football. If they don't run for 40 yards in a game, they're not going to win another game.
They don't have that identity offensively. That's something Chris Sims has been saying all year. And there's some old quotes from Deshaun Watson that are starting to get some buzz now after we've seen what Mitchell Trubisky has done. He said before the draft, take Mitchell Trubisky before me and face the consequences. And that's what the Bears did.
Yeah. And I remember Dabo Swinney said, if you pass on this guy, you'll be like the teams that passed on Michael Jordan.
They passed on Michael Jordan and Magic Johnson between Patrick Mahomes and Deshaun Watson.
Chicago plays the Chargers next week in the 2 teams that are desperate to find who they are, identity, and disappointing seasons that are sliding away quickly. That'll be a very important game played in Chicago next week. All right, so that was 2.
Yep. I got question number 3. What are your thoughts on how the Jalen Ramsey trade will work out for the Rams?
I think it's going to be fantastic. I said earlier in the pregame show, I thought he brought an attitude, a toughness. I mean, the fact that he's able to go on one side of the field and take away and you know, really after missing 3 weeks, he was one-on-one with Julio Jones. That's the type of heart that he has, the type of toughness that he has. And
except when he wants out of Jacksonville.
Well, you know what I mean, Mike. But you want to play in Jacksonville.
And you know what Mike means, too.
Yes, I mean exactly what he means.
What, he played 2/3 of the snaps today, and he was targeted 6 times, and 3 catches allowed.
The cool part, once again, after missing all that time, he had 1 week of practice, and he went out there and followed Julio for at least 30-plus plays. I mean, that's on a big stage, Mike.
Jalen Ramsey is going to be great for the Rams, and hopefully they get to a Super Bowl here. He's playing with a great pass rush. He takes chances. He knows he can blanket people. He's going to do a good job, but where it's going to come back to hurt them down the road is salary cap, okay, because those #1 draft choices can be good players who are very cheap. All of a sudden, you're not having 2 #1s, but you're paying a guy. They're going to have to pay him $19 or $20 million
a year.
And that's going to eat into that salary cap. So they've got to make it work here in the short run.
And, Mike, I'm curious from Les Snead, the GM for the Rams, his perspective, because he has not been shy about dealing ones. He has not been shy about paying guys in free agency as the cap has continued to expand, as the DGR, the designated gross revenue, expands, the cap gets bigger. So how do you see this from a front office perspective, making the Ramsey move, trading 2 1s and a 4?
I feel like what they did last year when they were making aggressive moves, even during the regular season when they acquired Dante Fowler Jr. from the Jaguars, I felt it was very strategic, meticulous, and planned. This, to me, felt maybe a little panic-driven after losing 3 games in a row, giving up 55 to the Buccaneers. Aqib Talib has fractured ribs. He's on injured reserve. Because to get the Jalen Ramsey trade done without getting him signed now. Remember how we killed the Texans for trading for Larry Tunsil a week before the start of the season and not signing him to a new deal? It's like, well, they don't have a GM. That's what happens when you don't have a GM. The Rams have a GM. And just to get a promise from him that he won't hold out next year, that's meaningless. If he wants to hold out, he's going to hold out. If he wants to hold in, he's going to hold in like he did in Jacksonville and just say, my back hurts. I'd want to get him signed now because you've given him all the leverage after you give up 2 1s and a 4 to get him. When it's time for him to get signed, he can name his price because the Rams can't afford to let him walk away.
I would have never done this deal if I didn't have a contract in place. Because like Mike said, you know, Jalen is a guy, and he values his worth and what he's about. And he's going to come and say, I want a 5-year, $100 million deal, and I want 75 of it guaranteed.
Yeah. And I want you to gross me up for the 13.3% California state income tax.
Yeah, I forgot about that. I'm so happy I don't live in California no more. Thank you.
You mentioned Talib hurt, right? And Marcus Peters, they traded to Baltimore, and he goes to Seattle, where he played the game against Seattle for the Rams a few weeks ago. Goes right back there, and he gets a pick 6 for Baltimore today.
Yeah.
So everybody's happy.
Yeah, everybody's happy.
For now.
Yeah. Definitely an upgrade, though,
Until
with
it comes
Jalen
time
Ramsey.
to pay.
I just worry about the future picks, to your point, too.
They're just trying to win right now.
Yeah, and if they win right now, it'll look good.
And it's funny because I kept thinking about that when I said a few times on the air, the Rams' success, the Falcons' window feels like it closed really quick. You know, so maybe while the Rams feel the window is open and Aaron Donald's at his peak, maybe you just kind of put all the chips in here and go, and you're in L.A., so you got to have those big-name kind of guys.
Yeah, and if you win a championship now, I mean, it lasts forever.
That's good. It's a great point. All right, this is Speed Round time. Are you guys going to do music for Speed Round this week, or are you going to just leave us out here to dry? Apparently, they're leaving us out here to dry. Oh, good. There you go. Rodney, you're the former Charger. You get to go first with the best word to describe the Chargers' loss to the Titans.
Senseless.
Senseless.
Charger-esque.
Very good. Very good, Tony.
Yeah, it's typical. I mean, no matter, and it's, you know, Philip Rivers said before the season, last year we could have been 6-10 or 16-0. All those close games. This year, they're not winning the close games. Last year they did.
We thought the Chargers were done with this because of last year. They played with poise in these situations, but it's like almost, what can you do to lose a game? We saw that in the last 4 minutes of this one.
It's funny because when they lost Derwin James and Adrian Phillips, their 2 best players, it just seemed like everything on the defensive side of the ball just went straight downhill.
We were watching the end of that game, and we watched them score 3 times, and still they found a way that it didn't win. It didn't break the plane, penalty, everything else. Okay, how do you move the ball in the 49ers, Tony?
You know, I think you have to be able to run the football. You've got to have a physical offensive line and be able to run the football directly at those guys, but it's not easy.
And you got to get rid of the ball quickly. You got to know who your top receiver is, who's going to be open before the snap. It's going to take somebody like a Tom Brady to go again. And wouldn't that be a great Super Bowl? Tom Brady against the team that he grew up rooting for, Brady versus Garoppolo. But Brady's the guy who knows who's going to be open and gets rid of it before he gets swallowed up.
Yeah, I agree with Mike. Just get rid of the ball quickly.
Just look here. San Francisco plays Carolina. I don't know if it's going to be Cam or Kyle Allen. I would assume still Allen. They play Arizona, so they'll play a young quarterback. Then play Russell Wilson in Seattle, then Arizona again. And there's Aaron Rodgers, Week 12, Green Bay plays San Francisco. That could be a lot of fun, that game. It could be a terrific game.
A team like Minnesota with a Dalvin Cook that can slash and run and get you to play the run, and then it's got some receivers. We don't know about this secondary, how they're going to hold up if a quarterback has the ability and some time to get to him.
For the next 5 at home, San Francisco with New England lastly undefeated. You're going to keep the same cut of music? This is great. Thanks, guys. After the Colts beat the Texans, do you consider Indianapolis the favorite in the AFC South?
I thought they were before this game. I thought they were going to win the game. I think their offensive line is the best offensive line in football. Their defense can get takeaways, and Jacoby's playing well, so I think they're going to win it.
Touchdown.
I want to see them win more of the games they're supposed to win. Because in hindsight, losing Week 1 to the Chargers probably shouldn't have happened. Losing to the Raiders at home probably shouldn't have happened. They need to have that same intensity when they're not playing the Texans.
I look at the Texans, and every time they get to this spot, and we talked about it, Mike, in the viewing room, you're waiting for them to take that next step. They don't take that next step. Whether it was against the Patriots in the playoffs, it's just the same thing over and over again. And they sit back and they wait for Deshaun Watson to do everything.
Who's the favorite in the division? Houston, Indy?
I would say the Colts.
Say Indy? Yeah. All right. I'll give you that 4-2. They play Denver, Pittsburgh, Miami, and Jacksonville.
They've got a chance to make
some hay. Really do. D, can Lamar Jackson sustain his production and playing style? Third 100-plus yard rushing effort.
No, he's gonna get hurt. He continues to run the football, and he's fast. He's the most athletic guy on the football field. But he's going to get hurt if he keeps running.
Yeah, it reminds me of RG3 in 2012, and RG3 is the backup to Lamar Jackson. But eventually you take those hits, square hits, solid hits, something is going to snap, fracture, break, whatever.
Pop.
Yeah, he has to understand how valuable he is. Continue to play this style, run out of bounds, slide. Don't take 10 hits a game. when you're running 15 times.
And I thought of it today watching the game, and you're looking up and going, here's Lamar running around, here's Russell Wilson running around, and knock on wood, even though it's glass at the moment, Russell Wilson has, for the most part, stayed away from those big hits and has continued to run and be effective. One of the few quarterbacks whose running prowess has continued all the way through his career here, and now we're deeper into it. Can he be like the guy he beat today?
Well, think about it. 2 years ago, Russell was getting hit a lot. He was limping around, lower body injuries and things like that. Then all of a sudden he gets smart and says, you know what, I'm going to throw the ball away.
I don't write these. Who writes? Matt Casey, producer, do you write these? Yeah. All right, so I'll read this. This is in the words of Matt Casey. Mike Florio, are you ready to apologize to Kirk Cousins?
No, I'm not ready to apologize to Kirk Cousins. Well, because I still want to see it happen in a primetime game, which is coming up on Thursday night. And then there's another one on Sunday Night Football.
Washington on Thursday night.
Okay, well, if he doesn't win that one, then I'm definitely not apologizing. But he's got Dallas 2 weeks after that on NBC. That's going to be the test. At Kansas City, at Dallas, back-to-back weeks. Win games you're supposed to lose. That's going to be the test of whether or not Kirk Cousins has turned it around.
He's playing great,
I'm on a Kirk Cousins bandwagon.
He's playing great when he's supposed to win. I want to see him play great when he's not supposed to win.
What's the deal with Thielen, by the way, in his hamstring?
They're going to do the MRI on Monday. Okay. He thinks he can play Thursday night. The team fears it's week to week, and they don't need him. They scored 35 points without him today against the Lions.
Close to that field.
Wait until Kansas City and Dallas.
That's it. That's all we have.
Listen to Coach.
We are done. Thank you very much. Sorry we had not more time to bring you the video. Rodney tackled me in a rehearsal today. We can't show it to you because we're out of time. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next week. Here's the video.
I slam him.
Again, what kind of work do we have to do here?
And that's to a teammate.
That's a friend.
Not an opponent, to a teammate.
You look like Frank Gore when I hit you on that.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. You look like Rodney Harrison because I wasn't looking and you hit me. We have to go. Thank you very much.
There you go.
Good night.
Loves you, Mike.
Drive home safe. There, see? Look, Florio went to help me. Tony just walked away and called the next defense. Good night, America.
I've seen it before.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.